Okay, good morning. It's Saturday, 23rd of December, day before Christmas Eve, and I'm getting ready to go on a little bit of an adventure. I've already journeyed out to the end of the train line I'm living near at the moment. At the moment I'm living in Northcote, house sitting for an American friend who's got delicious American breakfast cereal, which I'm enjoying as a little treat. Crinkling here. I went out to Plenty Gorge yesterday, which is glorious bushland just north of the city. I saw easily over 200 kangaroos, which was amazing. Scrambled around motocross trails, BMX trails, saw not a person for about 3 hours, and I think walked about 13 Ks through it. The gnarliest bit was getting across a creek and scrambling up a quite sheer creek bed on the other side. That could have gone wrong, but it didn't, so all was well. So I'm kind of primed for some adventure today, and today is going to be probably a bit more urbane and sedate. Despite going quite a ways out of the city, I'm catching the V line, the regional Melbourne, Freudian slip, the regional Victorian train line up to a city, I guess technically technically a city. I'll have to look that up, called Shepparton, and that is the hub of the Goulburn Valley region, which grows a lot of produce. It's got the Goulburn River running through it, I believe. I shouldn't be saying all the things I don't know yet. I'm going up to explore. I've never been. I've got a friend I'll run into up there. I've got some good recommendations from some other locals. I'll be showing you what I get up to, and hopefully maybe speaking to some locals about what they like about the area, how long they've lived there, what some unknown gems to me would be that I would otherwise miss. And I'm quite excited to do this because I had this idea quite a while ago of doing a similar trip in New Zealand. I was going to call it the Great Kiwi Odyssey, and it was going to be a trip around New Zealand in a van doing a live stream while touring around, as well as producing little documentary vignettes and sort of talking to the mayor and figures in each town and community I went through. So it was over 10 years ago. I kind of had that thought and was working on that project, and it never got out of development, but I've got all the tools I'd need now to be able to actually do something like that. So it's quite exciting to think, well, in 2024, why not have a crack? So watch this space. If you're seeing this, that means the test was actually worth sharing to someone else. And thanks for coming along with me today. I'm very curious to know how kind of dynamic and engaging this is, the idea of the tracking shot, where I just set the camera and I can talk to it like it's a person. Hi, you're at eye level here. And having the wireless mics is great because I can just be doing stuff. I can walk around. Here I am in the back room on the drum kit. And I'm still on the video, which is pretty cool. And tracking shot would be pretty nifty. All right, I'm going to have some cereal. Yum. All right, and that's it for this test. Next, you'll see I'll be walking into Southern Cross Station after a, hopefully uneventful tram ride, but one I can get plenty of footage for later. I'll be walking to Southern Cross. I'll be going to the ticket window, seeing if I can swap out my 2 tickets I bought. Funny story. For one return ticket later than 4 p.m. I don't want to spend more than 4 hours there, especially with it being a 5-hour return rail journey. And then I'll come to you from the train, and then I'll see where it goes from there. Oh, is that nice? Cicadas?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're sort of everywhere around here, turtle shells.
That's cool. Once you notice it, you see it everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got one of the Botanical Gardens too.
Yeah. So with this here, it's sort of like, because the Botanic Gardens will have been there for decades.
No, the Botanical Gardens is quite new.
Oh, really?
Well, relatively new. It used to be the Shepparton tip, rubbish tip.
Ah.
It ended up being the biggest hill in Shepparton, like just rubbish.
Just mounded, yeah.
Big pile of rubbish.
This close to town.
And they didn't know what to do with it. And then someone made a suggestion that it be turned into a Botanic Gardens.
Yep.
Which has been a bit of a struggle. Same thing with the
museum. Anything new.
People saying, why do we want that? You know?
Yeah. Oh, what's the point of a garden?
Yeah.
Gross.
So it's been there now for probably, I don't know, 10 years, I suppose.
Yeah, long enough that it feels like it was always there, probably.
Yeah,
People who move up here new.
It's there's been a few people really championed it really well.
Yep. That's excellent.
Including an ex-mayor. She's been right in there.
Good. Saying all the things she wanted to say as mayor.
Yeah.
Couldn't. So what's been one of the biggest changes you've noticed in the community in the last 40 years that you lived here?
Biggest changes.
Some of them.
Biggest changes. Let me think about that.
Or I guess, like, what was it like when you moved here 40 years ago?
Well, it's sort of hard to tell because I was the editor of the paper, and you had a sort of a strangely narrow view of the whole place.
So you're sort of, you talked about the news that was happening, not the non-news, the everyday life.
Yeah, it's really weird, all that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess what the big change that's happened in my time is there's been satellite shopping centres developed.
Yep.
Which has had a huge impact on the middle of town.
Yep. So as prices in town for real estate got a bit higher, but everyone was having a car.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you could drive out to the strip mall with the JB Hi-Fi and the
we can go to the remote shopping centres and they're undercover, they're air conditioned.
Yeah.
Whereas in town here, it's not that way.
Yep. And that's why that pedestrian mall was kind of the Maud Street Mall.
The Maud Street
dying
Mall.
A little bit, and then they had to bring it back as just a.
It was there since the early '60s. They built that thing, so
yep.
It was almost historical.
Yeah.
It was probably it's longer than the Burke Street Mill in Melbourne.
Wow. And you can't imagine they would get rid of that.
Well, they have.
But they did it here.
Yep.
Oh.
And this whole place got flooded recently, of course. This was all underwater.
How recently?
There used to be cabins along here.
Yep. The permanent camping spots?
Yeah. And they all went underwater.
Wow.
There was water all over this place.
Were we talking in the last year, or
when was it?
2023?
Must have been 22.
Yep.
When the floods come down the Murray River.
Yep.
Because this is the Goulburn just here.
Yep. And how far away is the Murray then at its closest point?
Well, the Murray's about 80 k's away.
Up at Albury?
Howqua.
Yeah, Howqua, yeah. It's closer.
That's where the Goulburn meets the Murray.
Yep.
So that's about 80 k's from here.
And so here then is the Goulburn running south to north?
Which way is the Goulburn going? It's going that way, I think, yeah. So it's going north.
Yeah. So what do you think if you were a young family moving here in the 80s or moving here in the 2020s? Which is the better time to grow, raise your kids? And
Probably. Well, it's hard to say. It probably. I
pros
guess.
and cons.
I get. It is. It's really hard to say that, but.
Yeah.
It depends on. I think now is probably as good a time as any.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm really concerned about climate change, and I think it's going to make life really difficult for all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And I'd like to go back to when I first came here and
change some things.
know what I know now.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'd start banging on then.
I guess, like a bad summer now is going to be, and it's already hotter than it was in the 80s, but
yeah.
You think, the average sort of, again, family home here, is it more comfortable? Is it more able to weather a hot summer now than we have in the 80s?
No. The houses have got
worse.
Tighter on the blocks of land.
Yep.
Like the blocks of land haven't changed size much.
Yep.
But the houses got bigger.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. The houses have got bigger.
Yep.
And they tend to go almost the full size of the block almost.
Yeah, so you got these little just access ways between houses. You got so much thermal mass now.
No eaves.
Yep. Yep.
Which exposes the wall to the direct sunlight.
Yep. Oh, you're right. There's a lot of ways we've regressed in our building.
Oh, God, yeah.
Less adapted.
Like the fellow I saw earlier this morning, he lived in a house built back in the early 1900s.
Yep.
And it had
wraparound patio,
verandas all around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that sort of stuff.
So here's the Goulburn.
Yeah, this is the Goulburn.
So seeing this thing in flood would be impressive, because right now it's just a little lazy river. And what do you love about the Goulburn? And it's great, because even though you're over there, it still sounds the same in the audio over here.
I'm not sure I do love the Goulburn. I think it's just a nice little river, that's all.
Just is.
It's sad that we've ignored it pretty much.
Yeah.
Like it runs right through the middle of Shepparton, but Shepparton has effectively turned its back on it.
Yeah, there's no sort of, it's not the town doesn't face the river.
No. So, which is a real shame, because had it been looked after, had the town faced the river.
Yep, people would have noticed it and cared about it more. It'd be less effluent running in, less agricultural runoff, less yada. I mean, I noticed the same out at Werribee. I went out there a month or so ago, and it just runs out the back of town, and now they've built a nice park. Now they're starting to acknowledge it's there.
Yeah, well, see, they actually changed the course of it back here in Shep.
Yep.
Because it used to curl around right through the middle of town, sort of thing.
Yep.
Well, they cut a new channel through.
Yep.
Had to build a new bridge, of course.
Yep.
I'd done that before I arrived here.
Yep.
So they took that little kink out of it where it came right in the middle of town.
Yep.
And so now it just goes straight through.
So they not only didn't use the river frontage they had, they've shortened the river frontage.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, that's not what I would have done if it was a game of city
I should
planning.
say that one of the councillors at the moment, he's really keen to see us do something with the old riverbed, like it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd like to see the city invest in turning it into some sort of attractive park or something.
Yeah.
Again, filled up with water and stuff. So.
That'd be lovely, because that right there is a nice section of river, and that is an attractive, very Australian scene.
Yeah, we've come this far, we might as well go to the top, I suppose.
Well, yeah.
This way.
Well, you can, I can. All right, so it's now a week later since my trip to Shepparton. It's New Year's Eve, 2023, and I better get this done now, this year, otherwise it'll become a next year project, so I'll quickly knock it out of the park. That was a great day in Shepparton. It felt like I was actually going somewhere. It felt very much like a trip away, like a day trip when you're on a holiday. Say you're in Rome and you want to go somewhere else, a satellite town, a city outside of Rome. It felt very much like living in Melbourne, like I do. Going to Shepparton was an occasion, and it felt very different there. What you saw in that footage was that what you didn't see was that the town itself, it felt pretty ordinary. Like I had been to other regional places in Victoria that felt the same. Honestly, it felt a bit like an outer suburb of Melbourne as well. Kind of same familiar stores, same familiar shops, pubs, that kind of thing. But that area around Shepparton Art Museum, Sam, felt very special. Victoria Park Lake and that Botanic Garden. It felt like something I couldn't go and see in Melbourne, especially something that was new. Melbourne's got really good bones. Um, you're probably not hearing this for the first time, but in case you are, Melbourne in 1880 was the richest capital in the world, richest city in the world per capita. Yeah, it was because of the gold rush, because of vast mineral wealth we exploited, but that laid down really good bones for the city, and it resulted in things that we're still receiving the benefits of today. Good parks, good infrastructure, even if it's wonky, the Hoddle grid being not north to south, but we had a grid very early on. The trams, the train lines, the water catchment, really, really high quality drinking water in Melbourne because we put our water sources, our catchments into parks very, very early on. In Shepparton, those things didn't happen. This is a town that came about later. It's very pastoral, agricultural, and to try to get improvements and new things developed now in 2023, you've got to overcome a lot of resistance from local people who, and it was Robert that was telling me this, a large section of the town just want money spent on roads. And that classic kind of council's job is roads, rates, and rubbish. Don't go adding cultural improvements. Don't go trying to create more fertile soil for future generations to grow from. And I'm so happy that despite that intransigence, that resistance, that Sam exists, that the Botanic Garden exists, because that is much more fertile soil for children growing up more prepared and more ready to tackle the future than they would have otherwise been. Just being able to spend time around natives, see how much better they are adapted to the hot summers, the volatility, the extremes of weather we're already seeing and we're going to see more of. I loved it. I really, really loved going up. I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed watching it. And let me know where else around Victoria I should go and why there's a good story there. I hope you got a bit of story here about Shepparton. Definitely going forward, I should plan it out a bit more, make it more of a narrative. But for now, hope you liked what you saw, what you heard, and you'll join me again in future. Thanks. Happy 2024.